Good morning. This is Shane and Dave, your local real estate experts, getting you the newest market report video. This will cover the January statistics for Folsom, Dorado Hills, and Granite Bay. So first thing we'll look at is the mortgage interest rates. Where are we at now versus historical interest rates? And you can see off of the highs back in 2023 in the fall time frame, we are actually down almost 2%, a good percent and a half, 2%. And that's great news considering the beginning of last year, again, we were at the lower 7% range. Right now, we're sitting in the lower 6% range for the 30-year fixed rate mortgage. And we do really anticipate seeing these rates gradually trickle down. And buyers are well aware these days that they're not going to be getting the mid to upper 2% range, but we are getting more towards the medium range over the last 15 years. We're only about a percent off from the previous highs from 2018. So we're getting there. Just give it some time. Next, let's actually go look at our supply and demand for our area. Again, this is Folsom, Dorado Hills, Granite Bay, and we track supply and demand to see if there are any imbalances, how the market's moving right now. So again, supply is going to be our new listings here in blue, also the light green bar. The light green bar represents the total inventory, all the properties out there for every buyer to look at that's on the market. The blue bar is just new listings. The red line is going to represent our demand. These are properties that were on the market, accepted offers, and are now pending. And then the dark green bar is going to be closed transactions for all three areas. You can see we did have an uptick in demand and an uptick in new listings and a slight increase in total supply for the month of January. We're still very tight on inventory, a little higher than we were last year, very similar demand. So we can see that supply and demand is very much so in balance. There are no divergences to be alarmed about, which is great. We like a very balanced market that shows just a great movement as far as appreciation. Buyers have enough homes to look at. Sellers are happy when their properties are listed the correct way. They usually receive an offer in a timely manner. So next, let's look at price per square foot for all three areas. You can see right now we're at 366 for January versus 360 last year. That's about a 2% increase. Now keep in mind there are some statistical variances because there's not thousands of transactions that close. So it is a little choppy, but typically we do see the peak in price per square foot in that late winter to late spring time frame. And that's very normal to have the peak price per square foot as an average. The highest here, where we typically get some trickle down, is right after school season starts. We're in a very seasonal market where right around that September time frame, we get a lack of new listings and we get a decrease in buyer demand. Next, let's look at the days on market listed sold price. So we did really in the market have a lot of properties that were on market for a substantial period of time, bringing that average list time as far as days on market from when a homeowner lists their home on average and when they accept an offer is at 84 days. There were some properties that were on market for over 300 days, dragging that average upwards. We typically see that lowest days on market when inventory is turning over at the fastest rate. Typically, that does happen early spring to early summer, right there in that wheelhouse of March through June, and starts to increase right after the 4th of July as far as days on market. And we could see the list to sold price did have a slight uptick by 2% last month, which is actually 2% higher than last year with that lack of supply and the buyer demand slightly increasing. Buyers happy to make stronger offers in regards to the list to sold price ratio. Lastly, we'll look at months supply of inventory. This data point represents how long would it take for us to sell out of houses with the current buyer demand pending home sales, and there were no new homes listed. How many months would it take for us to sell out? We can see we're at 2.1, a slight increase from where we were at this time last year, but a sharp decrease from where we're at in the winter timeframe, November and December. So that's a great sign for home owners out there that we have less inventory for buyers to choose from as far as relating to the pending transactions, and an increase in the price per square foot from last year. So we see a strong market here over the next few months with no divergences with supply and demand. So if you do have specific questions on how to properly prepare your home to come to market, so it stands out as the obvious choice, it's actually sold in person correctly to the buyers and buyers agents and negotiated at a high level, so which ensures that you don't leave any money on the table. Definitely connect with us. We'd be glad to answer your questions and share our strategies with you. From here, we really appreciate your time watching. Hopefully you have a wonderful month of February, and we'll chat with you soon. Take care.